This is the Trek FX Plus 7S, a city-styled commuter that, like many in its class, is lighter, quieter, and more agile than your average e-bike. But this isn't just another city bike, or at least that's not all it's trying to be. With a more premium price tag, it's aiming to deliver a more refined, tech-rich experience that takes those traits to the next level. So it's a lightweight but feature-heavy e-bike, and the big question is the total package worthy of your dollar? Let's take a ride and find out. Hey everybody, I'm Griffin and welcome to Electric Bike Report. Today I'm walking you through all the features of the Trek FX Plus 7S and how it performed in our testing. But testing like this is only possible thanks to your support, so if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to see more reviews like this and our weekly e-bike news show. And if you decide that this Trek is the right fit for you, using our link in the description helps support me and the team, and we really appreciate it. So we previously reviewed the popular Trek FX Plus 2 and thought it was a great ride, but this time Trek has taken things up a notch. The FX Plus 7S is a much more premium version, adding in upgraded components and more built-in features. It still focuses on being lightweight and easy to manage, but the execution is on a different level. Here are the biggest takeaways for me after testing. First up, the motor is great and one of the quietest I have ever pedaled. The TQ HPR50 originally appeared on Trek's lightweight mountain bikes and was one of the lightest mid-drives available when it launched. Now it's found a natural home on this city-focused model. HPR stands for harmonic pin ring, and I could do a whole video just on that design, but the short version is this. Instead of relying on belts and planetary gears like most motors, it uses a simplified inner and outer gear ring system. Fewer parts means a lighter, quieter setup and incredibly smooth engagement. With 250 watts of nominal power, 300 watt peak, and 50 newton meters of torque, it's not overpowering, but it's great at taking the edge off while still letting you get a workout in. It's more befitting riders wanting a more active experience. And takeaway number 2, the handling is just excellent. City e-bikes in general tend to be more nimble and easier to manage, but even by those standards, the FX Plus 7S handles better than most. A big part of this is the carbon fork, which lowers front end weight and soaks up road vibrations more effectively than aluminum. I felt confident at speed and through corners. It's got really dialed in geo, and that moves just nicely. Third point, this bike is packed with useful accessories and tech. You've got full coverage fenders here, an MIK rear rack rated to 55 pounds with side accessory mounts and integrated brake lighting. But what I found to be really cool was the integrated Quadlock mount at its stem. If you get the compatible case, it can wirelessly charge your phone, which is super handy if you're using Trek's central app for turn-by-turn navigation, or more easily skipping past those Spotify ads. The app also gives you access to advanced ride metrics like human versus motor watt output, and it can sync with heart rate monitors or wireless tire pressure gauges. It's like having a mini bike computer built into your phone, and I really like that you can charge while using all of that. I didn't have to worry about draining my phone battery at all. And the final takeaway, the looks. Okay, I know this one's subjective, but I really like the styling of this one. The bike comes in just 2 colors, and the black option gives off some serious Batman vibes, but our green test bike looks fantastic, and the black accents on the carbon fork, underside of the down tube, and the rear triangle help tie the design together really nicely. Add in the internal cable routing, and the whole package just looks sleek and clean. Now let's cover everything you're getting on this bike and its MSRP of $3,999. So while we're filming, there's a lot going on with tariffs, so make sure to check the link in the video description for up-to-date pricing. This is a Class 3 e-bike, pedal assist only with no throttle, and it can reach speeds up to 28 miles per hour. It runs on a 360 watt-hour integrated battery. While it's not designed for quick swaps, it can be serviced or replaced by a Trek dealer. The frame is aluminum with a carbon fork like I mentioned, and there are 4 sizes in both high step and mid step styles, giving you 8 frame options total. Also, it is fully UL certified. The bike rolls on 700C by 40mm Bontrager H2 hardcase light tires with tubeless ready Bontrager Paradigm rims. Braking is handled by 2-piston Shimano RS405 hydraulic disc brakes with a 100mm front rotor and 160mm rear. It uses a Shimano Q's U6000 derailleur paired with a 46-tooth chainring and a 10-speed 11x48 tooth cassette. It's built with Link Glide technology, which improves durability compared to Shimano's older Altus or Alivio options. The saddle is the sporty Bontrager Verse Comp, and the handlebar and stem are integrated with a 640mm bar on small and medium sizes and a 680mm on large and extra large sizes. The Quadlock mount is built into the stem area, and there's a 120 lumen headlight tucked under the shroud. The grips are ergonomic, lock-on style with a paddle shape. You'll find a rapid fire shifter on the right and PAS control pad on the left. The top tube houses a sleek integrated display that connects via Bluetooth for app control or via ANT Plus for heart rate monitor syncing. And finally, Trek says this bike fits riders from 5'1" to 6'6". It has a 300-pound payload limit, and our size large test model weighed just 42 pounds. So that's the full rundown. Now let's take a look at how the FX Plus 7S performed in all of our testing. Our first test is all about braking performance. Now, I personally handle this one on every bike we review to keep the rider weight and effort consistent across the board. For the FX Plus 7S, I accelerated to 20 miles per hour, hit the brakes, and recorded the stopping distance. I repeated that 3 times total to get an average, and I'm happy to report that it did well. The FX Plus 7S stopped at an average of 21 feet 10 inches. That's nearly 2 feet shorter than the current average for similar city commuters, which sits around 23 feet 6 inches. Trek didn't skimp when it came to the braking setup. A lot of lightweight city e-bikes get away with smaller rotors or mechanical brakes because, well, they can, I guess. A 40-pound bike doesn't need the same stopping power as an 80-pound fat tire ride. But Trek didn't take the easy out. Instead, they spec'd the FX with 2-piston hydraulic disc brakes and a 180mm rotor up front and 160 on the rear. And the performance reflects that. The brakes held up not just in panic stop scenarios, but also on longer downhills where I feathered the brakes to keep speed in check. They stayed consistent and controlled without any signs of fade or fuss. So whether under test conditions or in everyday riding, the braking performance was reliably solid across the board. Next up is our speed test. The goal here is to see how fast the bike rides in each PAS level. Now, since this bike uses a mid-drive motor that adjusts output based on how hard you pedal, results can vary, especially if you tweak the assistance levels in the Trek app. But for this test, we stuck with the default settings to give you a baseline of what the factory tuning delivers. All right, so this is the speed test for the FX Plus 7S. And so, I mean, on this particular bike, you kind of have to have it on in order to get the full readout. So, without any motor power, I'd say you can actually pretty easily do about 10, 11 miles per hour. It's a very light bike, very easy to pedal. You can do that without really breaking any sweat. It's the type of thing you can actually ride home, if the motor does die or anything like that. It's really easy to ride around on, but of course, that's not what we're here, not what we're all about when it comes to e-bikes. Oh, hello, little bunny. Didn't even run away, that's amazing. But anyway, sorry, distracted. But yes, riding around in eco mode right now. We're gonna kind of see, what the motor can do, where it can kind of take us to, exploring a little bit the gear range. It's really nice to have this, power readout, giving, some of my own personal effort along with how much wattage the bike's giving me in turn. So here on eco mode, things feel pretty pleasant. Can't really hear the motor much at all. It's virtually silent. Let's kind of explore, see where it goes. The goal with any of these speed tests is not to push things insanely hard. I just kind of want to see where the motor takes me for, to give you kind of an idea. And then I'll try to match its potential too. Sometimes you have to push a little bit harder. We'll see how it goes here. But so right now I'm riding about 16.7 miles per hour with a roughly even amount of power between me and the bike. I think this is probably a pretty good range. You have to build up to it. You don't zip right here, but that's, again, part of the natural feeling, that extension of yourself. So 17.1 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and bump that up now. Riding around in the mid-power mode. It's crazy. It's like, I'm looking down, I'm seeing the speed increase a little bit. You can't feel much more, but it's there, it's working. You can see the watts kind of increased too. It was in the 70s, or at least I hope you can see that. Moved from the 70s more comfortably closer to 140, 150 watts. Slow down a little bit into this turn, probably max out the gear and go into 10th gear on the other side. All right, so I am at the limits of the gear range. I'll just kind of push until I'm getting to a point where, something I wouldn't want to sustain for too long, something that would maybe tire me out after a few minutes. But again, kind of give that motor the opportunity to push a little harder and faster. So yeah, my personal wattage is exceeding what the motor is doing, so I'm gonna slow down a little bit there, but get some upwards of 20.4 miles per hour. Let's finish things off in that high power mode, see where we get to. Again, I'm getting almost no motor noise, but I can definitely feel it. I'm having to push a little bit to like really get the wattage to match me, but it's trying to match me step for step. Slow down a little bit on this turn and then push. Gonna see the upper ranges where we get to. On your left. Yeah, this is awesome. This motor, almost no feedback from it audibly, but going a lot faster than I can otherwise without it, I'll tell you that much. We're 25 miles per hour. I'm gonna try to not exceed 300 watts. That's what it's giving me, but really good sprint here. Yeah, I'm topping off around 26 miles per hour. But yeah, really good and smooth as butter engagement from that motor. Almost don't even know it's on, which is incredible. Right off the bat, the bike pedals easily, even with no motor assist. With a light effort, I was able to cruise it around 10.5 miles per hour on flat ground. In low assist, that gradually bumped up to 17.1 miles per hour. Middle assist brought me up to 20.4 miles per hour, and high assist topped out at 26.2 miles per hour with a little extra pushing. Now here is what stood out to me. Each of the 3 assist modes felt appropriately spaced. You get a clear low, medium, and high progression. But what really surprised me was just how subtle the motor feels while still being so effective. If you're familiar with the frog in a pot analogy, it kind of felt like that. If you jump straight into high assist from a dead stop, you'll definitely notice the boost. But if you move from low to medium to high gradually, the transition is so smooth, you barely notice the assist ramping up at all. And honestly, that's one of the highest compliments I can give this system. You don't feel it working, but you see the results in your speed and stamina thanks to a slightly reduced effort. The motor peaks at 300 watts, and while it'll help you go faster, it's really about taking the edge off. You might find your heart rate is 15 or 30 beats per minute lower than it would be for the same pace on a traditional bike. If you're the kind of rider who likes to stay active but wouldn't mind a little help, this motor is a fantastic way to enhance but not replace your effort. That it does it while staying nearly silent is all the better. And one bonus, the Trek app lets you fine-tune the assist levels to your preference. I personally thought the stock settings were great, but it's nice to have the option to dial in more power or stretch your battery further depending on your riding style. Now let's talk range. We ran 2 different tests to see how far you can go on the FX Plus 7S's 360 watt-hour battery. Once in the highest assist level and once in the lowest, and both were done using the stock motor settings. Now, since this is the S model, meaning it's class 3 and capable of speeds up to 28 miles per hour, we kept things fair by riding in the middle gears to get closer to the 20 mile per hour limit of our test path for the high power test and to more fairly compare to other bikes we've reviewed. And here's how it did. In high assist, we reached 18.8 miles before the battery tapped out. And then in low assist, we got 39.2 miles. Now that puts this bike squarely in the average range for lightweight city e-bikes, not just in mileage, but also in overall efficiency. If we look at watts per mile, which is kind of like miles per gallon for e-bikes and better to compare to the different battery sizes and motor outputs, the FX Plus 7S clocked in using only 9 watts per mile in low assist, which happens to be the class average, and then 18 watts per mile in high assist, and that figure is just 1 watt over the average for similar bikes. Honestly, I was a little surprised it didn't outperform the average here, since we've tested a lot of hub motors in this category, which are typically less efficient. But even so, average range on a premium feeling ride like this isn't really a bad thing. Now, if 19 to 39 miles doesn't quite cut it for your typical ride, Trek does offer an optional range extender for a few $100. It mounts in place of one of the bottle cages and adds an extra 160 watt hours, which boosts total capacity by 44%. And based on our test results, that should push your range up to somewhere between 27 and 56.5 miles, depending on your riding style and assist level. And one last note, I don't usually talk much about chargers, but the included 4 amp charger is a nice touch. Paired with the smaller battery, it gets you a full charge in about 2.5 to 3 hours, which is pretty speedy and convenient. Up next is our fan favorite hill test, where we see what the motor is really capable of when put to the test on a tough climb. We take every bike we review to Hellhole Trail, a brutal 1/3 of a mile climb with a 12% average grade. And just like I handle brake tests for consistency, our tester Justin tackles this one every time to standardize the effort level. I'll kick it over to him to show you how the FX Plus 7S performed.
We're out on Hellhole on possibly the quietest motor we've ever tested. That's the Trek FX Plus 7 with the TQ motor. Very lightweight city commuter. So expectations in terms of speed aren't great. So far feeling pretty good. Going about 8 miles per hour through this first steep section. I'm in 4th gear. There's a 10 gears here, which is nice. Going at about 6. Putting in about the same effort as I normally do on these lightweight city commuters that aren't overpowered or over torqued. But yeah, I mean, I can hear the motor teeny bit. I'll let you listen here. I don't know if the GoPro is going to pick up anything though. It's about 8 miles an hour hitting this hill. See where it goes here. Down to 3rd gear now. So drop down about 6 miles per hour and shift back up to 4th. And definitely on this motor, it's giving me oomph. It is not overpowered. Feels much more like a normal bike, that then just turns me into a really good climber. But still, I mean, it's just so quiet. So natural feeling. Almost forget it's there. Except for it takes me about an extra minute and a half, 2 minutes to climb up this hill if I don't have a motor. So yeah, we'll go to the tape, check and see how this did.
So the bike made it to the top in exactly 2 minutes, averaging 9 miles per hour. That's slightly on the slower side, about 7 seconds off the current average for city e-bikes, but not surprising given what the bike is designed to do. Remember, city bikes aren't built to be hill crushers. They're actually the slowest average time as a class up hellhole. And if it sounds like I'm being an apologist for the bike, I promise I'm not. This is a bike that takes a more natural, rider-focused approach to climbing. Where some bikes give you raw, obvious power, the FX provides subtle, supportive assist. You don't have to look far to understand Trek's goal here. A couple lines from their own product page really stood out to me when talking about what the bike is and who it's best for. They said it's sleek, light, quiet. The FX Plus 7S is an elegant city bike made to blend into the environment with smooth assist that feels like an extension of your own power. And it's for you if you want quiet support that makes light work of big hills without taking you out of the element. So with that in mind, I'd say that the motor succeeds at what it's set out to do. This is the kind of e-bike that could win over longtime cyclists who've been skeptical about going electric. It supports your effort without ever taking over. If you do want more climbing power from Trek's lineup, there are other options. The more affordable FX Plus 2, which uses a hub motor, actually made it up hellhole about 20 seconds faster, or you can go with a performance-focused model like the Elant Plus 8S. But for a lightweight city bike that boosts your ride while staying out of the way, the FX Plus 7S holds its own and delivers a smooth, effort-enhancing experience. Now let's shift from the quantitative side of testing to the qualitative. This is where the FX Plus 7S really earns its premium badge. Let's take one last ride and talk about how it feels out on the road. So I mean, the quality of the ride really is just a step above here on the FX Plus 7. It's just remarkable, all the things that this bike can do, the handling of it, the engagement of the motor, it's just next level stuff. And you can kind of see, like, it tried to be a premium option. It really is a premium option. Like, you have to pay a little bit more, but you're going to be getting what you pay for. And especially right now, if you're the type of person who is a longtime cyclist, or you're the type of person looking for something that's more active, you do want a little bit of like extra exercise, this is going to be such a great bike for you because the natural feel to it is just, honestly, it's amongst the best I've ever tested. And I don't say that lightly as a reviewer. I actually usually avoid definitive statements, calling something the best or the fastest or the whatever, but this is definitely one of the most quiet e-bikes I've ever ridden. It's just so quiet. You forget it's an e-bike, pushing 25, 26 miles per hour, barely hearing the motor, or even like, going up a really steep hill. It's the only time you can kind of detect it, but even then, it just stays out of the way. And when you're riding, it's just you and the road, all the usual, like, you know, bits of feedback there, but just such a good and quiet ride, such a natural experience. I love that you can kind of just be pushing things, you know, you look down and you're like, oh, I'm doing 90 of my own personal watts, even if I'm pushing harder and I'm, you know, up 150, but I mean, the bike can be giving you, you know, double that amount back. You're going faster, you're going farther. It is an extension of yourself. It just does it so phenomenally well. But again, it's gonna be easier. It's gonna be, you know, your heart will be going 120, 130 beats instead of 160, 180 when you're really pushing stuff. You can get to work, not be so sweaty. It's just gonna have you enjoying things, getting a good bit of cardio in, but really enhancing everything you can do as a rider. So let's go into a little bit more of the fit and feel. Everything Trek has done to set this up for success. So the first thing that I love, 8 different frames to pick from if you count both the high step and step 3 model, 4 sizes on each, fitting riders from 5'1" up to 6'6", 300 pound total payload capacity. It's going to be a good option again for active riders across a wide spectrum of, you know, different heights and different weights. I like the handlebar here. It's really kind of like unique. You know, you don't see this particular shape very often. It's essentially like a flat bar design, but it has this like V shape. You have a very short effective top tube length, but the reach ends up actually being like pretty good. Again, I'm a 6'1", 230 pound rider on the size large frame. I like the overall feel here. If I go totally straight armed, I feel kind of upright, like fairly relaxed, like in the leisure cruising. A little bit of bend in the elbow, and I'm kind of in my stance and can kind of push harder, bob and weave if I want to. It's also the type of thing you can get out of the saddle and pedal if you want. Really good active experience. And no adjustment here in the stem. So again, just make sure you do get the sizing figured out before you go to get one for yourself. But in terms of just the overall feel, at 42 pounds for the size large, it feels very light compared to most other e-bikes, especially in the front end with that carbon fork. You know, you can be very precise on the 680 millibar for this one, or 640 on the smaller sizes, but it just feels as precise as a scalpel. It's just a really good handling sensation, type of thing you can take into corners confidently, even holding higher speeds. The 700C by 40 mil tires, it's kind of like a harder, like 30 TPI tire. It's a little bit more durable, but it's got good traction, good grip. Again, I don't slow down much into corners. It just sticks really well to the road, carrying me through it. It's just a lot to like, and I love that it's a tubeless ready system, so if you want to make it even cushier, you know, lower the PSI a little bit in the tires, not have to worry about pinch flats, you can do that on this bike. Just a really, really cool, you know, the options you kind of have for how you want to run the thing and how you want to enjoy it, especially with how you can kind of tailor the motor power a little bit. And once again, TQ, hats off to you guys. It's just a really great motor experience. So let's jump back into the studio just to wrap up a few odds and ends for everything on the Trek FX Plus 7.
This bike really hits the mark for riders who want something lightweight, easy to move and store, and sharp enough to handle busy roads and crowded bike paths with confidence. Honestly, I had to squint to find things worth critiquing here. One minor nitpick, the plastic pedals look a little basic on an otherwise sleek and refined bike, but they even had great grip to them, so I didn't feel I could even fairly knock those. One other minor downside is the display placement. The top tube display is cleanly integrated and does show some useful ride metrics, but because of the bike's shorter effective top tube, it basically had me looking down at my knees. That's not ideal when I want to keep my eyes on the road in front of me, especially in traffic or on multi-use paths. So if you like monitoring your ride stats closely, I'd recommend going all in on the Quadlock case setup. You get a higher, more natural viewing angle, and the wireless charging from the stem mount is a nice bonus. And honestly, if you go that route, Trek's central app is really solid. The layout is clean, it's easy to use, and it gives you access to a ton of useful data, from human versus bike power output to turn-by-turn navigation, and even syncing with things like heart rate monitors or tire pressure sensors. All in all, the ride experience was extremely polished, and if you're the kind of rider who cares about the way a bike feels as much as how it performs, I think you'll be really pleased. So here's the bottom line on the FX Plus 7S. The ride feel is genuinely impressive. If you want the benefits of an e-bike without feeling disconnected from the riding experience, this bike nails it. The motor's response to rider input is exceptionally well tuned. It makes things easier and helps you do more, but you might honestly forget you're even riding an e-bike. That seamless experience extends to the handling too. The geometry is dialed in and the bike is really responsive and has that agile feel to it while still staying planted and confident at higher speeds and into corners. And as someone who's always a sucker for smart tech, I really appreciated the Trek Central app and the integrated Quadlock mount. They're thoughtful, practical features that add real value to the day-to-day experience. There are a lot of solid, lighter weight e-bikes out there, but if you're looking for one with a top-tier natural ride feel, useful smart features, and premium build quality, the FX Plus 7S is a standout worth considering. That's it for this review. Drop any questions or thoughts you have down in the comments. We always love hearing from you. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I'm Griffin with Electric Bike Report. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next ride.